Now to the cackling witch herself, Joy Behar from The View, whose jealousy is something to behold.
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Here is Joy objectifying the White House press secretary, saying she only has the job because she's hot.
Let's dive right into it. Imagine this. You tune into your usual daytime television routine expecting the same old chatter, the same smug commentary, the same worn-out jokes, and suddenly, a shockwave ripples across the studio. The laughter dies. The smiles fade. The air thickens with silence. And the unthinkable happens. Joy Behar, the long-standing face of The View, the one who has made a career out of throwing punches at anyone who dares disagree with her, finds herself on the receiving end of a blow she never saw coming. And this time, it wasn't from a political adversary, or even a fiery co-host. It was from Karoline Leavitt, a young, sharp, and unapologetically confident woman who decided she wasn't going to be reduced to a stereotype. What unfolded wasn't just another TV squabble. It was a cultural earthquake, one that has left ABC scrambling, fans divided, and Behar herself without her coveted seat at the table.
Ever-empowering feminist, Joy herself, everyone. And this is why, of course, she's on The View and not working for the most powerful man in the world.
The View hosts have got themselves into hot water again after they did the very thing they purport to be against: undermining women's success. Joy Behar stunned viewers when she said Donald Trump's press secretary, 27-year-old Karoline Leavitt, only secured her position because of her good looks.
It all started with one careless remark. During what was supposed to be another standard episode of The View, Behar looked at the camera with her usual smirk and suggested that Donald Trump's press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, had only been appointed because of her looks. She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10, Behar chuckled, dismissing Leavitt's career and credentials with a single wave of her hand.
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
The comment was bizarre, especially coming from Joy Behar, who is as woke as they come and positions herself as a champion of feminism. This online commentator said, disgusting Joy Behar of The View accuses Karoline Leavitt of being hired only because Donald Trump thought she was a 10.
The fallout was immediate. Viewers gasped. Even her co-hosts, who are used to Behar's sharp tongue and biting remarks, looked momentarily stunned. The studio air seemed to freeze, as if everyone knew those words would echo far beyond the walls of that set. And they did. Within minutes, social media erupted in fury. Twitter lit up with hashtags like #CancelJoyBehar and #FireJoyBehar. Outrage poured in from across the political spectrum, not just from conservatives who had long criticized Behar, but even from liberals who had once defended her as a necessary provocateur. The disappointment was palpable. How could someone who spent decades denouncing sexism so casually diminish another woman's career by reducing her to nothing more than a number on some imaginary scale? But what made this controversy different wasn't just the backlash, it was Karoline Leavitt's response. Unlike so many public figures who simply issue a statement of condemnation and move on, Leavitt decided she wasn't going to let this moment slide into the pile of forgotten media scandals. She went further. She went legal, filing a lawsuit against Behar for defamation.
Because Karoline would wipe the floor with you bitter banshees any day.
How well you can do your job, and the American people agree with that sentiment. So it's about competence, skill, and merit.
Leavitt drew a hard line in the sand. This wasn't just about her pride. It was about her career, her reputation, and her right to be recognized for her merits, not dismissed as someone's pretty face. Legal experts quickly weighed in, pointing out that Leavitt's case wasn't just strong, it was potentially groundbreaking. By arguing that Behar's comments had done tangible damage to her professional standing, she was pushing the courts to consider whether media figures should finally be held accountable when their words cross the line from opinion into defamation. Behind the scenes, ABC executives went into panic mode. This wasn't just another headline about one of their stars saying something controversial. This was a lawsuit, one that could cost the network millions, tarnish its reputation, and drag The View into courtrooms and tabloids for years. Emergency meetings were called. Options were weighed. Should they suspend Behar, demand a public apology, or, unthinkable as it may have seemed just weeks earlier, cut her loose entirely? The longer they hesitated, the clearer it became that the problem wasn't going away. Unlike past controversies, this one had momentum, fueled not just by public outrage, but by a legal battle that carried real teeth.
Joy Behar may have your jobs because of wokeness, but do not smear a competent professional woman like Karoline Leavitt.
And then it happened. The announcement dropped. Joy Behar was leaving The View. The statement from ABC was short and vague, claiming that Behar had decided to step away, but no one was fooled. The timing made the truth obvious. This wasn't voluntary. This was damage control. Behar had become too much of a liability, and ABC wasn't willing to gamble its future on her anymore.
With your nonsense, and don't lie about this being her first job. We know what you're doing there.
The reactions were explosive. Some viewers cheered, calling it long overdue. To them, Behar had crossed the line too many times, hiding behind her honesty, while dishing out comments that would get anyone else fired in a heartbeat. Others fumed, accusing ABC of cowardice, bowing to political pressure instead of standing by one of their longest-serving personalities. Overnight, the debate ignited across social media, late-night shows, and news outlets. Was this accountability, or was it cancel culture? Was Joy Behar being punished for hypocrisy, or was she silenced for daring to speak her mind? As the dust settled, the spotlight shifted back to Karoline Leavitt. Her decision to take legal action wasn't just about protecting her own reputation, it symbolized something bigger. For years, the media landscape has allowed personalities to hurl accusations, insults, and insinuations with little consequence. But this lawsuit could change that. If Leavitt presses forward, it may set a precedent that words spoken on television carry the same responsibility as those written in print. It could redefine what media figures can and cannot say about public officials, potentially reshaping the very culture of political commentary in America. But even beyond the legal implications, the scandal raises deeper cultural questions. Should TV hosts have the freedom to say whatever they want, even if it's inflammatory, disrespectful, or false? Or should there be a line, one that, once crossed, demands accountability? For years, networks like ABC thrived on controversy, knowing that outrage brings ratings. But Behar's downfall may be a sign that the tolerance for unchecked commentary is finally running thin. Meanwhile, The View faces its own existential crisis. Love her or loathe her, Joy Behar was the show's biggest lightning rod. She generated headlines, drove viral clips, and embodied the confrontational style that made the show a household name. Without her, the producers are left with a gaping hole. Do they play it safe, bringing in a less divisive figure who won't court controversy? Or do they double down, replacing her with someone just as fiery, knowing full well that controversy is what keeps the show alive? And then there's Donald Trump himself, looming in the background of this drama. For years, The View and Behar in particular have made him a punching bag. But now it's his press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, who has turned the tables. The irony is striking. For once, it wasn't Trump lashing out at the media, it was one of his allies standing up, fighting back, and forcing accountability. And in doing so, Leavitt not only defended her own reputation, but also reminded everyone why she was chosen for her role in the first place. Sharp, unflinching, and unwilling to back down. The scandal even pulled the spotlight back onto bigger political battles. As Trump's allies pointed out, Democrats have spent years branding him a threat to democracy, even comparing him to dictators of the past.
The fact that Democrats have been labeling President Trump a to democracy for the better half of 10 years. Let's talk about how they have compared him to Hitler, one of the worst mass in the history of the world, and that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden weaponized the court system and the justice system in this country against Donald Trump in an attempt to imprison him. He sat through a courthouse for 7 weeks this past year, and the Democrats were hoping he would go to jail for it. That is real political violence that has led to two heinous attempts on President Trump's life that by the grace of God, he was able to escape and he is here with us today.
Meanwhile, his supporters argue he's the one who has faced real political violence. From court battles designed to imprison him to assassination attempts that he narrowly survived. In that context, Leavitt's defense of Trump and herself seemed less like a personal feud with Behar and more like part of a broader struggle. A struggle over truth, fairness, and who gets to shape the public narrative. Still, the question remains, what happens next? Will Leavitt and ABC quietly reach a settlement, burying the controversy before it spirals further?
So yes, President Trump knows a little bit about political because he's experienced it himself. In talking about the tragic realities of that Liz Cheney and her father, Dick Cheney, have got this country into is not political. It's talking about the reality of the foreign conflicts that the Washington, D.C. establishment have sold out young Americans to for decades.
Or will this drag out in court, with the potential to set new standards for media accountability? If Leavitt refuses to back down, the case could stretch on for months, maybe even years, keeping the controversy alive and ensuring that Behar's words remain under the harsh glare of public scrutiny. And beyond that, what does this mean for outspoken TV hosts in general? For decades, personalities like Joy Behar have thrived on their ability to say what others wouldn't. They've built careers on provocation, on being unfiltered, on walking right up to the line and sometimes stepping over it. But in a media world that's increasingly sensitive to public backlash and legal threats, the rules may be changing. Networks may start to think twice before giving a platform to voices that court controversy, or at the very least, they may demand tighter boundaries on what those voices can say. In the end, Joy Behar's downfall isn't just about one comment, one lawsuit, or even one show. It's about a shift in the culture of media itself. A shift where accountability is no longer optional, where words have weight, where careers can end not because of ratings, but because of responsibility. Whether you see it as justice served or cancel culture run amok, one thing is certain, the days of saying whatever you want on national television without consequences may be numbered. And so, the curtain falls on Joy Behar's long run on The View. Not with applause, not with laughter, but with silence, lawsuits, and a debate that refuses to fade. For Karoline Leavitt, it's a victory, one that proves she is more than a number, more than a face, more than an easy target for an aging comedian's cheap jab. For ABC, it's a crisis, one that leaves them searching for answers in a world where every word counts and every slip can spark a storm. And for the rest of us, it's a reminder that the battle over truth, respect, and accountability isn't just fought in politics. Sometimes it plays out on daytime TV under the bright lights of a talk show set, where one careless comment can change everything.